Hey guys, welcome back. We had a good day in the market. It's 3 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon, January 27th. We're going to talk about mostly GME, when I think it's going to rally, how high, kind of some dates, because other YouTubers and other predictions have kind of been falling flat, and I just want to show you kind of my logic on when and why it'll rally. Sub up, like up, comment down. Happy money sticks around. We have a Twitter you can follow us on at HappyMoneyYT, as well as a Discord server. Link is in the description for that. We're going over complex option strategies presently. Real quick, I usually talk about SPY because SPY correlates with GameStop. This is the best view, in my opinion, of the overall market. And depending on what the market and SPY are doing, has a lot of effect on GameStop. SPY is very oversold. Let's see here on the daily, very oversold. After this huge violent drop, these big just volatility candles that we're seeing on the daily, really just kind of consolidation, even though they're making big ranges. You know, big candles is showing a big range from open to close, and then even these long wicks, that's also, you know, the range. So it could just consolidate before another drop, but I am more expecting it to have a bounce first, some sort of bounce, maybe up to this 450, where it was a previous support. Supports become resistance, resistance becomes support. This support might be a resistance for that, or maybe it could even come up a little further, maybe 460, kind of those 5s and 10s, maybe 465, before it makes another proper crash down, which I think will break that support and probably fill this gap down here, looking at like 398 maybe. We'll see, or maybe further on that leg. But this leg I feel like is probably bound to bounce. I figured it was from Powell from when he talked. It didn't happen from that, so not too sure. But maybe earnings, maybe Apple earnings tomorrow or today after hours or something will cause it to start to rally up. But that being said, big range, big moves, very volatile. On the hour, then the short term, it did just flip bearish. However, just how oversold it is on this daily, I feel like it'll probably have some sort of reaction to get it out of this oversold territory, back up into the 30s at least, mid to high 30s or 40s before another leg down. It's possible it just kind of consolidates and the RSI comes back up, but typically there's a bounce to do it. And as far as 2008 crash, people have lined up this chart with 2008. It is similar. This is, you know, you have your kind of a double top, kind of a blow off the top right here, where you think it's a breakout, the false breakout, and then we start to crash, break through supports, then you get a bounce, then you get more downward. 2008 was like a year-long, basically bear market with a crash towards the end. That's when GME squeezed towards the end during that crash. But during the bear market, they had multiple different small crashes. I'm not sure it really depends on the Fed and Powell, if this is a long sustained bear market, if this is a more violent crash, Russia, any external factors play into how the market plays out. GameStop, I've gone back and forth. Every day that we kind of consolidate and make another consolidation floor pattern, kind of like we did here, I'm leaning more towards, I think it's more higher probability that we just repeat patterns that we've already seen, and not necessarily the squeeze. I do think we could see a squeeze, the actual squeeze, and not the pattern, but I think it's probably still higher probability. Yeah, that makes sense. That we just repeat the patterns we've seen. And if we do, I'm going to show you guys the time frame I'm thinking. Kind of mentioned in the last video. I'm going to go a little more into it this time. So basically, we've always had our rallies before earnings. Don't ask me why. Futures, swaps, rollovers, FTDs. I'm not sure. And each time it's been at the most just over a month, like maybe 5 days over a month was the most I saw. So this is 6-9 was that one. I'd say this is the beginning of the rally, basically the floor, the last lowest price. That's 5-11, so that's a little less than a month. This one was longer. So I was originally thinking we would rally more in February, and then based on a lot of different factors. But I'm thinking now it's probably going to be later if we are continuing this pattern. This one was 323. First rip day was 224. So that's exactly a month. I'm not going to go back to prior January because the data is different then. They changed up their whole game plan in January. This is the shortest one, so I think a month at the earliest, but it could be as late as 824 to 97, like 2 weeks. That's what we saw here, basically 2 weeks before earnings. Those latest 2 weeks, as early as like 6 days before, 6 days more than a month. So that's December 8th. I mean, you could say the first day, or this spike. This is just over a month. This would be November 1, but it really started back here. So 5-6 days before earnings maybe is when you're going to have a bottom and you start to have that bullish momentum. Now, we don't know exactly when earnings are yet. E-Trade's saying it's 323. They don't know. GameStop hasn't announced it yet. Historically, let's see, what do we have? Historically, it's right. It's like 323 or 325 on that day. The 326 was that one. Back when we had a dividend. That one was actually 4.2, so that was a little later. I suppose it could be later. E-Trade's predicting this, and so I'm assuming somewhere around here. So originally when we started flattening out here, you remember, I thought, okay, we're in this pattern right here, and then we're going to rip. It was too soon, though, because both of these patterns, these troughs, have been correlated with the timing of the earnings in a month. So had the trough, bounce, retest, trough, bounce, retest, and then earnings was about a month later. Every time that's happened. So here's the trough, the bounce. This kind of retested this low back here. And so I think it seems like this earnings is further out, if it is the 323, than these are. Maybe because it's the first quarter. I'm not sure. Yeah. Anyways, so I'm thinking at the earliest, I'm thinking now this phase we're seeing right here is probably like this phase. That first bottom that we find that's historically been the lower low. So it'd be right here, it'd be right here, it'd be this one right here. But I don't think it's this far back necessarily. It could be this far back if GameStop doesn't start going up until 2 weeks prior to earnings instead of more like a month. So if we're looking at 323, that'd put us at February 23 roughly, and that's looking like the most probable to me at this point. So we're doing this. We tested this low, probably a little consolidation, maybe a little grind up, and then maybe kind of a retest of that 95, and then our climb up. This is all just based on charts as far as failed delivers, ETFs, rollovers, crossovers, all the different astrology going on. I don't know how that plays into it. It seems like they've been able to fail or roll their failed delivers or fail to roll. So I don't know. Maybe they're doing some of that stuff. Math Girl, not Gamma Girl, I guess. She kind of had it right yesterday. Not quite the move we were hoping for. At one point it was almost 20% yesterday. Did get shorted back down. I think the pump and dumps, I think that's they might become more frequent because they're trying to keep it suppressed as much as they can. So pump it to cover some failed delivers maybe, and then they're shorting it back down and rolling. But as long as we're grinding up, basically making higher lows, it's good. But if we're just in this cycle, it's no big deal. It's going to come up, come down, and then rip. Or the less likely scenario is we are about to squeeze. And there's a lot of indicators that would say that. Reason why I'm thinking it's less probable that's happening right now is just because it simply hasn't happened before. So there's no way to know what all is going to set up before that actually happens. Borrow fee has gone up to 1.4%. They're running out of shares. Short interest on the ETF is 700% on XRT. It seems like all their different outlets they're using to suppress GME's price are starting to get basically filled up. And so now we're starting to see more exposure. on GameStop shares itself as far as them lending shares from it, and that's what's causing the borrow fee to go up. We've seen this before. We've seen it when we've seen glitches, and it says different brokerages or whatever have said 224% short interest, or they've said the float is like 200 million. You know, whenever we see those little glitches, it seems like we're starting to see kind of, I guess how Pickle put it was, see the cracks. I like to think of it seeing behind the curtain. So if all those things are indicating that we're going to squeeze, which if you look at the overall market and you consider it with Volkswagen and margin calls possibly happening with all this liquidity being pulled out, it'll be more telling tomorrow with Apple, how much Apple comes down or up or what happens with that. Tesla's down 10% today. I mean, this is huge. This thing's under $1 trillion market cap now. So a lot of money moving out of the market. So yeah, in the present condition, I could see, of course, every day that kind of this pattern plays out right here, or this pattern, it's more probable, in my opinion, that we just repeat the cycle. They're able to can kick it, we rip up. Part of my thought also is if we do repeat that cycle, sorry, back to the original probability thesis, is that it probably doesn't go as high. I know that the delta neutral and the delta spikes and the gamma and all the different Greeks are pointing that it's more exposed and more basically risky or whatever than it was pre-January. But they've had a whole year to mess with this thing and manipulate it and to plan and basically figure it out. So I'm thinking if it is just a kick the can down the road, a pinch, I think we will get something like one of these moves. But since they have been able to start at a much, much lower level, I'm not certain it'll go all the way up to that 250, 350, or even, 350 more. But it might go up to this like 250 or 228. We'll have to see. I'm not sure how high it'll go, but it seems like there's a reason why it's lower now. And my first reason was because this is the final dip before the rip, and that still could be the case. But if it's not, and we're in this cycle, I'm just wondering if they're able to, if they only have to move it so much, if they're starting from a lower level, you know, we're not going to go as high, basically. But back to the squeeze happening theory. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why this could be the final dip, and then we have our move up prior to earnings like we always have, and then earnings announcements does well, good news, an NFT marketplace, whatever, and then we squeeze from there. So that is another possibility. Or we start squeezing straight out of the gate down here from all of these ETFs and FTDs piling up, overlapping, and we don't even get a whole lot of momentum, and it just goes. And then earnings, maybe it goes up crazy, maybe $1,000, and we're long before earnings, and then earnings comes out and it's, you know, NFT dividend, and then it just keeps going from there. Those are kind of the different scenarios I'm thinking. So basically the only thing that's changed for me now is this, I'm just starting to consider the patterns and thinking this is probably stretched out a little further than my option plays wanted. A lot of my option plays are for the 8th of February, which I think is too early now. Some are for, let's see, what is it, the 18th, I think, which is the monthlies on February. Hopefully it's, some of them work out. Wow, SPY's really coming down still. Wow, broke through that support on SPY. Oh, 45 minutes left. Sorry, I had my coffee, needed a little more time to chill out. I'm all jittery. But actually today, on the micro scale, GME actually held up pretty well against the SPY. SPY had this long just trend down, and this was during this time. So GME held up quite well. We'll see coming into close what's going on. Probably stream tomorrow if you guys want to join us on there. I really appreciate it. Show you guys options and over that. Intel, yeah, this was up. Their earnings, I actually closed this out too early, but made a little bit on that put debit spread on Intel. I think their earnings were pretty well, but it sold off some. Not a whole lot. I closed out on my SPY called debit spread. Been kind of flipping these SPY plays. I opened up a bearish play on Apple for earnings, and then Apple dumped with the market today. It was up like 50%, so I closed that. Closed out of my brain chip holdings. It doesn't look like it's doing the move that I was hoping. The GME clone at this point, at least. Oh yeah, I bought a GME call today. We were so oversold in the 5-minute. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna get a call for tomorrow. And then it just did this little move, and that's all it took to bring the RSI up. Sometimes that's all it takes. And so that's back to the point on SPY. This way oversold might just take a little bit of a bump, even to 445, and it'll pull that thing out. It's kind of strange how the RSI works. It's interesting to watch, but just that little bump pulled it out, and I guess I could have sold it here. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. I'll hold it for tomorrow. I mean, this thing's so oversold. It's not that it's necessarily has to rip, but I don't see it really falling. If it is, it's just going to be on like a wick. Anyways, I have that one for tomorrow. Probably try and dump that at open if we have a little spike. Hold it close. Oh, I already did close it. Never mind. Oh, I did. I closed it for a tiny gain. Okay, cool. I remember now. There's Apple when I closed, and I opened up a SPY call just because, well, I was trying to get this bump. Same thing on SPY. I was so oversold. Did little bumps up a little bit. Now it's consolidating again. I still believe in this one, in this little SPY call. It's only for tomorrow. I mean, it'd be a lot better if it was next week, but I feel like we'll probably, I mean, shorter term, we're not oversold, and it is bearish. But I mean, on the daily, this thing's at 24 on the RSI, which is lower than it's been in over a year. So here's COVID. That was 19. Hit 19 there. So not to say it can't go lower, but this was from the most black swan, unprecedented event ever, really, in the stock market as far as panic and the speed of the decline. So those are the plays we did. A lot of stuff's down today. I sold those cover calls on birds. That was nice. I've got these put credit spreads for GME because I remember I was saying about the timing, and these are all for February. So hopefully GME is high enough that these are out of the money by then. This one's pretty safe. That's 117. This other one, not as much. So this one's 150. I need that for break even. This one's gonna kind of suck. That one's gonna sting. So hopefully I'm wrong on some of that, and we don't have kind of this trough and then retest, because that retest is right about when those monthly Februaries expire before we start coming up. Now all this changes, I think, if we break this support and just keep coming down with the market. We'll just have to reanalyze at that point. But at this point, I'm thinking if I had more capital and I didn't have all these put credit spreads that were eating capital and not far enough dated, I would open up a put credit spread right now for maybe 2 months, or at least a month, probably a month and a half, and I'd be pretty aggressive with it, and I'd have it at about this strike, about 96, to stay above that, because I'm pretty confident in that, or maybe 93 depending on where. But it looks to me a lot like we're doing this, and if we're not, that's even more bullish if we just honestly keep dumping and this keeps shaking up, because the lower it goes, the more likely they're going to start covering, because it's more favorable for them to cover when it's low. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you on Discord. Have a good afternoon. Peace out.